Hey y'all, Roxanne here. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Today, I wanted to talk about long COVID and mental health, but let's face it, after the year and a half that we've had, I think that mental health and finding strategies to boost it should be something that's on everyone's radar. So, how are you taking care of yours? Especially for those who, like me, are dealing with long COVID, how are you managing to stay sane amidst the countless doctor's visits, the lack of answers for your countless questions, just all of the conflicting data that's out there about why you're actually experiencing this, the pokes, the prods, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. Today, I want to share with you 5 strategies that have really helped keep me grounded as I've continued to heal and figure out what do I do that's the best for my body, but also just dealing with the craziness that is going on all around us. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just what's kind of risen to the top for me over the last 1 to 2 years, especially this last year that I've been dealing with long COVID symptoms. I struggled with depression and anxiety as a teenager and in my early 20s. So people who knew me back then, especially my family, have been really amazed at the fact that I didn't fall into a major pit as I've been dealing with the ups and downs of COVID over the last year. I 100% attribute that to having an amazing counselor that's been in my life for the last 4 years, to having mentors who asked me hard questions, to God, of course, and then also to these strategies that I'm about to share with you. So let's start with number 5. So as an introverted researcher type, I have always been mindful of energy management. If you're familiar with the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 5. That means that I generally start the day with less energy than just about everybody else. So I'm always in energy management mode. I'm thinking about work and the things that I have to do there. I'm thinking about school, internship, friends, all of those things, and making sure that I'm managing my energy well so that I can do all the things that I love. After COVID, I could not figure my life out on this area. So I actually got sick while I was in grad school and was doing a social work internship working with high school students, helping them prepare for college. And I got sick and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to bounce back like everybody does. And, maybe a couple weeks and I'll be back to doing all of the things. That is not what happened. So for me personally, I felt a lot of pressure and expectation to kind of get back to things. And it took having a really deep and hard conversation with one of my mentors in grad school who basically looked at me and said, if you could lay aside the expectations of everybody, what would you do right now? And my answer, I would make it all stop. And that's exactly what I had to do. I know that for a lot of us, it's really hard to lay aside the expectations that we have for ourselves and also the expectations that other people have for us. But I think in this season, it's so important to realize that you're not your old self, that your body is going through something. And it's really important for you to take care of it until you're able to get back to that place of being healthy and able to manage all of the things. Which brings me to something that I recently learned about called pacing. Y'all, when I tell you that I think I learned about pacing 2 weeks ago and I had strong feelings. I was salty. I was real salty because I have conversations with people in the medical community all the time. And none of them have ever mentioned pacing in relation to long COVID and COVID fatigue. So pacing is an energy and activity management strategy that's generally used in patients with conditions like chronic pain, ME, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, and chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, things like that. It focuses on doing what you can within your limits and avoiding that pushing and crashing, which was a cycle that I got stuck in because I wasn't paying attention to my new limits and just constantly trying to jump over them. So focusing on where your new limits are and trying to live below that is something that I found really helpful in managing that whole push crash thing. So with that, let's talk about number 4. Okay, so since we're talking about setting limits and recognizing them, I wanted to actually put this bit in here. I actually today am having some interesting cognitive stuff, like my eyes are hurting, and like I'm dizzy, and I'm having trouble like processing thoughts and things like that. So I reached out to my boss and I just told her I think I'm gonna have to take the afternoon off, and yeah, she was 100% on board with that. I emailed my two other bosses, and I let them know, like, I'm not doing well, so if you need anything for the rest of the day, I'll try to log back on later, but for right now, I just can't. And they were both like, please take time off, take tomorrow off if you need to, because again, I work for amazing people. But for me, recognizing that this was not the normal, like everyday, something's off, was huge. So I think talking about setting limits was really important, an important part of that. And I basically took the afternoon off. I went to the park and just laid out for a bit in the sun. And then I took a little bit of a walk just because my body felt like it wasn't using oxygen well. And so I did a very easy, very slow walk. But it immediately boosted my spirits just to be outside. And then I came home and I actually plan to go to sleep. I'm gonna go to bed and hopefully I'll get a good night's sleep. And I'll be better tomorrow. If your long COVID symptoms are anything like mine, stress just makes them act up. I've noticed that when I am not managing my stress, or I get stressed out by things like big moves or upcoming trips, or just work is really stressful, that my symptoms flare. So one of the things that I did as a stress management and also just a mental health strategy to keep myself from doing this was find ways to do this with my stress. One of the ways that I did that was by taking a medical leave of absence from my graduate school of social work program. And I talk a little bit about that in my long haul story, so I'll post that somewhere up here. But it was one of the best decisions that I could have made. It's something that I do plan to go back to because I really do love social work, especially clinical social work and counseling and that kind of thing. So I really do hope to go back to that in 2022. Another thing that I did was I managed to negotiate with my job, finding a less stressful position within my team. So I was able to move away from managing all of our education initiatives at work. And now I'm actually providing administrative support for some of our leaders. And it's made a lot of difference for me. I'm able to go to work. I'm able to manage meetings. I'm able to, work with scheduling and all of that stuff, which is still logistics heavy, but not as much stress as actually managing large projects. And on top of that, I'm able to set timers on my cell phone. And for every 2 hours, I walk away from my computer, give my eyes a break, go outside, maybe breathe some fresh air. And for 15 minutes, I'm just taking a mental break. Another thing that I did is I took a break from social media. Best decision ever. I don't know if you have seen it, but I have said before that certain platforms are a cesspool. And whenever I spend a lot of time on them, I find myself becoming just really disappointed just with the status of the world. So for me, I like to stay up to date on things. So I read a lot. I actually read my news. I don't watch it. And I'm really selective about what I choose to intake. So just being able to filter that information that's constantly coming at you if you're on other platforms has been something that has helped me tremendously. Another thing that may sound silly is that I do not drive in traffic. I am blessed to be able to work from home. So my commute is literally from my bedroom to the computer, and it's a beautiful thing. I've been trying to do that for years. But I don't love traffic. And I feel like after the pandemic year, everybody taking, time off and not being on the streets and things like that, people just have lost their ever-loving mind and they don't remember how to drive. So I don't like being out in that. That means that, if I'm going to meet with friends or if I'm going to go do something in the city, I am going to plan that around peak traffic times. Even if I love you, I would rather take PTO from work and come hang out with you in the middle of the day on a Friday than trying to come see you Friday night at 6 p.m. It's just how it's going to be. So that's definitely something that has been helpful for me in making sure that my stress levels remain low. The other thing is also not something that you would think about, but for me, just because of my cognitive issues processing memory, I have made some financial decisions, like only using one credit card. So I have a habit, especially since getting COVID and having memory issues, I forget to pay them. So in order to minimize the stress on that, I actually just made the decision that I was going to retire my other credit card, and I wasn't going to use it. It's worked for me, and it's helped with not having that moment of panic, realizing that it's the 15th and I've forgotten to pay my bill. So the other side of this coin is finding ways to spend time with people who nourish your soul. I realize team introvert, 100%, I manage the time that I spend with people. So making sure that I find adequate time to hang out with my family, who I love and adore, is really important. I make sure that that I'm on our family call. We talk to each other like once a week. And then of course, we're texting and doing video chats and stuff like that throughout the week as well, just as people are wanting to stay connected, because we live all over the US. So making sure that I'm spending time with family is something that's really important, but also spending time with friends, especially people who are willing to drive your car into the mountains because it's not safe for you to do so, but you want to see the fall colors. So there are those people, but then also those that, check up on you, that you can go for long walks when you're having a good day. And then there are those that are just bursts of joy and laughter whenever you're around them, that I think it's really important to figure out who those people are in your life and prioritize spending time with them as you have energy to do so. And with that, let's jump to number 3. Okay, so number 3 can be a little bit sensitive. There are some guidances, I think, that just came out in the UK that have kind of set Twitter on fire. So in regards to exercise and getting outside, I would say do what you can within your limits. For me, I try to set a ritual of, this is the end of the workday, I'm turning off the computer, and I'm going outside for a 30-minute walk. And when I say 30-minute walk, I'm not like power walking or anything like that. I'm pretty sure somebody's grandma could lap me. Some days I actually get out there and I'm halfway through a walk and I realize, my asthma's flaring. So it feels like I'm being stabbed in the back. So do what you can within your limits as far as exercise and getting outside goes. Find the thing that works for you. I think that for some, bike riding could be something that is really kind of low key if you're doing it like on a flat surface. You can do yoga. You can do so many things. So find what works for you. And if you're just not able to exercise because of fatigue or post-exertional malaise, I would say just going outside, taking your shoes off, and practicing grounding, which is just connecting your body with the earth, is something that could be beneficial. Make sure that you get out there, get some vitamin D from the sun and find a way to just relax in the great outdoors. Okay, so before we get into my top 2, I would really love to hear from you. Leave a comment below on strategies for mental health and self-care that have worked for you. Even if they're not things that I've mentioned, I'd still love to know what's working for other people because I feel like we learn from each other. So share that in the comments below. Okay, so if you paid attention to the intro to this video, you'll know that gratitude is something that is at the center of why I'm even doing this channel. I became interested in the practice of gratitude in grad school, where I can't even remember what class it was, but I learned about just the impact that it can have on individuals and on families when it's an actual thing that is practiced. The science and the research shows that practicing gratitude has had a positive impact on so many things, including mood, physical health, energy levels, lifespan, sleep, self-esteem, and even the way that we serve and love others. So for me, practicing gratitude is something that has been central to maintaining a positive outlook about dealing with long COVID and eventually healing completely from it. One of the ways that I have found just made integrating the practice of gratitude into my life consistently easier was through a gratitude journal. Now, I know it sounds hokey, but hear me out. One of my friends actually gifted me a guided gratitude journal earlier this year for my birthday, and I just started using it, and I really, really like it. It has different prompts, and then it has like quotes and things like that you can meditate on. And I found that it's just really useful in making sure that I am journaling every day and just highlighting things that I'm grateful for. But you don't have to have a guided journal. You can also just, go to the store, buy it on Amazon, just a regular blank journal, and put the date at the top and then 3 bullet points for things that you are grateful for. You can also just, one of the regular 50-cent, 25-cent notebooks that you get at the store during back to school time. You can also just grab one of those and put the date at the top, number 1, 2, 3, morning and evening, and write in the things that you are grateful for. If you're interested, I'll share a few links to a few that I've used in the past below. Feel free to take a look at those or just find something that works for you. I found that even on my toughest days, I'm able to find 3 things that I can be grateful for that will help to shift my perspective on the world around me and how I function in it. Those things can be something as easy as I'm grateful that I was able to eat and not be nauseous today. Or I'm grateful for my couch and TV where I can comfortably watch a movie. Or man, if you're having weather like we've been having here in Colorado, I'm grateful for the sun because this weather, I'm not here for it. I think the number one thing that has helped to make sure that I stay mentally and emotionally healthy is believing that I'm going to get better. I remember having a conversation with my supervisor in my internship earlier this year and, giving into it and thinking, man, I remember saying the words, I just don't know that I'm ever going to get better. I don't know if this is my body's ever going to sort itself out. And she literally stopped me in my tracks and she said, no, I believe you're going to get better. I need you to believe that you're going to get better. And I think that that's something that's so incredibly important. I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine last week who's in her 20s and got COVID 3-4 months ago and is still dealing with COVID issues and symptoms. And she said it. She was like, I'm just afraid that this is going to be my life. And I was able to do the same thing to her. No, you're going to get better. Your body's going to sort itself out. You're going to heal and you're going to get better. And so I think it's important that we speak that over ourselves and that we really believe it. It's one of the things that for me has allowed me to celebrate the little victories that I've had and continue to hope for the big ones. I think that, just being able to take walks, being able to eat, not having a headache, not being in pain on a particular day, those are all small victories and I celebrate them. And to me, they're signposts that are saying that I am progressively getting better. Okay, y'all, so that's all I have for today. To kind of close this out, I would love to start implementing something that I did with my the students that I worked in my internship. We would close every session out with 3 things that we're grateful for. So I'll start. Number 1, I would say, is the cooler temperatures. I absolutely hate being hot. So being in the middle of fall, which lasts approximately maybe a month here in Colorado, where we haven't quite had snow yet, but the leaves are turning colors. There's pops of orange and red and yellow everywhere. And I get to wear layers and boots, living my best life. Number 2, I would say, are the strides I've made in healing. I still have flares. I still am struggling with stuff, but I'm definitely not where I was 6 months ago. So I would definitely say I'm grateful for that. And then 3rd, I would say, is you. I really appreciate your watching, and I hope that you found something that is useful as a takeaway here. Yeah, and so I think that's all I've got. Drop your 3 in the comments. I really do want to hear from you. So with that, I'll say thank you for watching. Keep healing, keep growing, and keep thriving, friends. See you in the next video.